like really make the choice for yourself. Hell, don't even listen to me. Who the hell am I, right? Just some dude on the internet with a camera and a mic. I mean, look at my bio. That's what it says. But really, think about where you're getting your ideas from and just form your own opinions, is all I'm saying. What's up, people? This is Lamont, your boy L Double, and I'm not going to use this intro, I promise. But it's my first time. We're going to do a reaction to this video here. I have not watched this yet. It's supposed to be by this dude. Let's check it out here. What does it say? By Einzelganger or whatever. There's like a lot of like philosophy type videos. And he's going to talk about walking away from marriage, children, and other stuff we're supposed to have. So this it should be pretty interesting. Let's get it.
You want someone you can grow old with? You want someone to be a mother for your children, assuming you want children. And if you don't want children, well, you probably will. And if you don't, you're either deluded or immature. And you might say, well, no, the planet has too many people on it. It's like, yeah, whatever. Good luck with that. Every single one of your ancestors reproduced in an unending procession lasting 3.5 billion years. And they're all wrong, and you're right. I don't think so.
You just listened to a soundbite of Dr. Jordan Peterson
sharing
sharing his opinion about people who choose not to have kids. Aside from the fact I find the judgmental undertone of his rant a bit repulsive, I can't help but think. He is basing this on what?
Let me
Peterson
pause right there.
argues that
I think it was pretty clear what he was basing that on. I'm interested to hear what this dude has to say, because there's a lot of discourse on the interwebs at the moment about men not wanting to get married and why they should or should not get married. So let's keep going. Let's keep going.
all of our ancestors reproduced for billions of years. Along with his claim that if you don't want children, you are deluded and immature, he uses the actions of our ancestors as an argument to support his view that having children is the right course of action. This argument totally ignores the fact.
Now, I will say that here's, before he even goes into what he wants to say about this and what he thinks, if you don't want to get married, there's nothing wrong with that. However, my only question would be, where'd you get that from? Is that something you decided for yourself? Or have you heard all the discord and stuff on the internet, the interwebs, YouTube, with all these red pillars and whatnot telling you how bad of a deal marriage is, so you've decided that marriage sucks? Like, where did you get that from? Was it your life's experience and what you saw around you, or is the internet influencing your decision? That's the only thing I got to say about that. Let's keep going.
Fact that many people who lived before us did not reproduce. Were all these people wrong? Were people like Isaac Newton, Ludwig van Beethoven, Leonardo da Vinci, and Jane Austen all wrong, deluded, and immature? While
Maybe.
At the same time, my former pot-smoking downstairs neighbor on welfare with 4 kids and a 5th one on the way, throwing diapers and cigarettes over the balcony is quote-unquote right?
Wow.
Let's clarify something. I'm not against having kids. I'm not against marriage.
Okay.
Not at all. What I'm rebelling against is the phenomenon of should-haves, should-bes, and should-dos, often based on questionable arguments. I'm questioning those people speaking from a position of authority, telling other people what to do and how to live, and that if you don't do as they say, you're deluded, immature, wrong, evil, toxic, weird, whatever.
Yeah.
But when society believes something is good, does it necessarily mean it's true?
This is like one of those, question everything. They say you're supposed to, but are you supposed to? Let's look into that. Let's see what he says, though.
Is it wrong to live life differently? And what is life like when we go against the grain? Let's explore life without marriage, children, and other stuff we're supposed to have, the nature of social norms, and some existentialism.
Told you. Life without marriage, children, and other stuff we're supposed to have.
Social norms greatly influence human behavior. It's like a set of software society installs on our systems collectively, largely during our formative years, but also throughout the rest of our lives. It's the program that says we should not slap strangers in the face, or we should say thank you when we get a present, or we should marry and have children. So these social norms and conventions, which are mostly ingrained in the
I like how he threw in a bunch of stuff about just regular things about being nice and polite, what you're programmed to do, and then doing, oh, and you're supposed to get married at the end of that. Nice.
The cultures and societies we live in tell us what we're supposed to have, be, and do. We often see that if a person doesn't comply with these norms, at least for a significant part, then he is seen as a weirdo, an outsider, and sometimes even a threat.
And that's what his video's
But
for.
just because something is the
people
norm,
who feel like weirdos.
does it automatically make it a good idea to follow it? Let's explore the notion that one should have children, for example. Again, aside from having children being a natural occurrence, and I would say that it's also a natural occurrence not to have them, it's also a norm in most societies.
Yes.
It has been for a long time. Although times are changing, most people generally consider it a step we eventually take during our lives. It's also a norm to do this within the framework of a family. So, people across the board consider finding a partner, getting married, and having children the right course of action. Of course, this differs per country, religious group, etc. In the Netherlands, for example, marriage is less common these days than in, let's say, Indonesia.
Bro, every time you see any of this stuff, somebody's always bringing up the Netherlands. I guess because it's supposed to be a more egalitarian area. So we're supposed to look at them. Okay, all things being equal, these are the things that people like naturally go to. And they always bring up the Netherlands. It's funny that he started off with Jordan Peterson, because this is kind of what he argues about all the time, is all things being equal. And the Netherlands is the most egalitarian area in the world. And this is what happens there. Again, I always say, if you're arguing for or against marriage, my only thing is, where'd you get that idea from? And did it become something that you just inherently don't want to do? Or have you just had all these bad examples in your life, so you're like, this doesn't seem like a good idea? Or are you listening to all the internet talk about how it's such a bad deal and it's a legal contract, blah, 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 from the manosphere, so they feel like getting married is bad? I'm just saying, question where you get that from and see if that idea, whether it's good or bad, is your idea. So let's move on.
And I would guess that atheists generally marry less frequently than Muslims. But still, having children is normal. It's an expected step in one's life. But does that mean having children is better than remaining child-free? Let's go back into the past, to the period just after the Second World War, the time my grandparents were about to start a family. At that time, having children was so routine that the local pastor would visit their house every year to see if new babies were coming. He was kind of the local Jordan Peterson of that time, shaming people
Jordan
into having
Peterson
children,
once again,
not by calling them deluded and immature if they didn't, but bad Christians, which, especially for my very religious grandmother, was an effective shaming tactic.
For sure.
She eventually gave birth to 11 children, which resulted in countless grandchildren, including yours truly.
11 kids.
In terms of expanding the population, an understandable goal just after the war, 11 children is a great accomplishment. However, economic reasons also played a role. The more children there were, the more hands could contribute to the family income.
Yep.
For example, my grandparents sent my uncles to the factories at young age. Although in the West, this practice is luckily something of the past, there is a functionality aspect of having children that still lingers.
I'm going to pause it again here. I know some of you guys might want to go watch this video, for yourself, all the way through without me stopping and having a commentary, and really soak it up. And you'll hear me say this again and again throughout this video, like really make the choice for yourself. Hell, don't even listen to me. Who the hell am I, right? Just some dude on the internet with a camera and a mic. Look at my, really make the choice for yourself. Hell, don't even listen to me. Who the hell am I, right? Just some dude on the internet with a camera and a mic. Look at my bio. That's what it says. But really, think about where you're getting your ideas from and just form your own opinions is all I'm saying. Let's keep watching.
Which is that they serve to provide companionship for the parents. Hence, we hear comments like, "You'll end up alone and miserable."
Companionship.
Or, "What are you going to do when you're 60 and have no children to visit you?" So, in many ways, we see the projected benefits of having children. They can take care of us, keep us company, help to maintain the family, etc. But what about the downsides? One downside people don't like talking about is the suffering that comes with bringing people into existence.
Let's I'm sorry. I know y'all like, damn, play the video. We want to see the video. But he's got a good point there. And that's something I've said to my own wife and family. If you ever ask, let's just say a man, why not get married and have children? They come up with, and it's not come up, these are real, tangible, hard reasons, evidence, as in to not do it. Kids are expensive. They take up a lot of time. You know, there's a pain of childbirth for women. How expensive they are. They always bring that up. Why not get married? Oh, it's a bad deal. It's going to take half of your stuff, half of your $50,000 a year job money, half your home, all the things that say it's very hard evidence why you should not have kids or get married. But when you ever ask somebody who has kids or someone who's married why they should, they often give you very intangible, ethereal, I would even say ethereal. Is that a word? Is that how you say that? Reasons why you should. It's like when people have kids, like, oh, you'll understand when you have kids, but they can't like explain it. And I think one of the things we got to really find out to do is tell people what are the benefits of being married and having kids, and then being open to somebody just being like, nah, fuck that. I don't want to do that. I totally understand. But really, like, even if you ask me, I could probably tell you some things to make it sound nice. But even myself, I don't really have the words to tell you how beneficial it is in this very clean, hard cut way. Because when you do, it makes it sound like, oh, you just have a maid. They always say that, oh, I can cook and clean and get a maid and have sex. I can pay somebody for that. So why do I want to have a wife? It's pretty gross stuff. Hold your button. It's nasty work. But anyway, I digress. Let's go back. Keep going.
A child didn't ask to be here. He partakes in a contract he never got to sign. He just got part of the deal, whether he likes it or not. Your child may actually live a miserable life. Perhaps
maybe.
A life full of depression and addiction as a result of the many bad things happening to him. All that to accommodate the parent's happiness and well-being.
Wow.
Isn't that a bit selfish?
Wow.
Furthermore, having children doesn't even guarantee the benefits parents imagine. What if you're 60 and you have children, but they hardly ever visit you? In that case, you not only lack the visits of children, just like those who never had them, but you also grieve about the fact you have children, but they never visit you.
Yeah, listen to my mom. She'll tell you.
Antinatalists go even further, saying that bringing children into this world leads to undeniable, inevitable suffering for these children.
Wow.
And thus, the best, most empathetic thing to do would be not to have children in the first place. Not having children prevents these.
But see, wouldn't that in of itself also be selfish, which is what you were just saying? The best thing for you is to not have children so you don't have to go through the suffering of having them. It's all the same. Anyway, let's keep going.
Unborn sentient beings from suffering. If you're interested, I've made an in-depth video on antinatalism. But not just for the children,
surprise.
also for the supposed parents. Having children could not always be the best idea. What if one or both of the parents deals with mental illness or addiction problems, and having children is just too much of a responsibility? What if the parent has ambitions that don't mix well with having children? For example, what if my grandmother actually wanted to be a war?
Bro, let me switch screens here. We could make a drinking game of how many times this dude is saying, what if? I mean, bro, there's always going to be some sort of negative. You can make a reason to do or not to do, whatever. And if y'all couldn't tell already, obviously I'm pro-marriage, especially within the Black community. I believe the best thing Black people can do for the Black community is for a Black man to marry a Black woman and have Black babies. Sure, some of y'all are going to call that racist, but whatever. But I don't know, man. If you've already got it in your head that you don't want to do that, there's no need for all this convincing. And then why you got to try to convince others so much? But I guess that could be said for both. Anyway, let's keep going.
War correspondent. In that case, having 11 children would have prevented her from fulfilling her dreams. And what if you just don't like children? But you'll end up alone and miserable. There's scientific evidence that shows that people without children are generally happier than people who are parents. Other research suggests that single people can be as satisfied as those in relationships.
There's probably research to the contrary too.
In one study published in 2022, hundreds of men and women were surveyed about what makes single life attractive, and they rated the top benefits as having more time for themselves, being able to focus on their goals and not having anyone else dictate their actions. And
If that's the way you look at it, yeah.
there's enough reason for me to question the value of social and cultural norms. I don't buy the idea that when everyone does something, it must be good. Take, for example, today's rampant search for status and so-called relevance on social media platforms.
True.
What's that actually good for? Or about the necessity to have a large house or expensive car. And if showing videos of yourself dancing in your sister's bra on TikTok becomes the social norm, does it mean it benefits one's well-being?
Okay.
My answer, not necessarily. Norm doesn't equal beneficial. What society generally thinks we are supposed to have isn't always in the individual's best interest. But even if something works for the majority, does that mean it works for everyone, always, everywhere? And on top of that, does that mean that people who don't comply with these norms deserve to be shamed, blamed, and ridiculed? Some people might be better off walking a different path. Some people, rather, don't let social norms and conventions define how they live. Call to mind any statement along the lines of, "You're supposed to get married and start a family. It's your responsibility to have children. If you don't want kids, you're immature and deluded."
Interesting, there's a woman there.
What do these statements have in common? They all come from an idea of how we're supposed to live. As if our lives have these specific purposes. As if someone or something designed us to do something.
Metric
as humans
school.
designed a fork for eating. Indeed, we created a fork for the specific purpose of eating, just as we designed a house for the purpose of providing us shelter. Humanity designed tons of such things. Things that perform the function we intended for them, which is great. But should we treat our lives in that way too? Do our lives serve an innate purpose, such as getting married and having children? When people say things like, "Listen, we humans are here to do this."
Now here comes denialism, bro. I mean, I guess I don't really know. I guess I'd have to watch more of his videos. I've seen some where he's had like on Confucianism and Stoicism and all that other kind of stuff, which I'm sure the Manosphere and the Red Pillars love that because that's, sort of the center of their behavior. But this guy, interesting stuff. Let me just say it like that. Interesting stuff. Let's keep going.
And to do that, the reason we're here is to reproduce. We're here to be happy. We're supposed to live well and be good to our fellow humans.
Are we?
I usually cringe. I mean, how do you know that? Who told you the purpose of human existence? It's great that you're so confident about this. People have been asking themselves for thousands of years, and you just single-handedly solved one of the most profound philosophical questions.
Now, I'm going to need my phone for this one, but I actually have a quote saved in my phone for something about, your purpose in life and whatnot. Let's see if I can find it here. There it is. Something I saved on my phone. So the quote is, "There is no value in life except what you choose to place upon it, and no happiness in any place except what you bring to it yourself." Now, I'm a big person I guess I'm a person. I'm a big person, but a person who's big on self-responsibility. I don't really like to do a whole lot of blaming. But I like that quote because basically it puts it on you to make your life what you want it to be, and first decide on what that is and then make your life what you want it to be, and maybe not just get on rails and just do whatever it tells you to do or life tells you to do. Figure it out for yourself. Another thing I like to say is, if you're out in the middle of the ocean of life, which is life, you need to unfurl your sails, catch that wind, and go in the direction you want to go. Don't just be in the boat and letting the waves throw you around. You'll never get anywhere. You'll just end up where you end up like that. Anyway, let's keep going.
Bravo. Sarcasm aside, it's pretty common for people to make such statements. And in regards to the purpose of life, religion also offers its 2 cents. Beliefs such as, we're here to serve God, we're here to honor and worship God and follow His commands, or we're here to escape the cycle of rebirth, are prominent in the religious camp, and many ascribe to these ideas.
Different religions.
Such claims imply that we have this innate purpose, a divine mission to which we should dedicate our lives. But French existentialist philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre believed that we don't have this innate purpose. According to him, humans don't come into this world with specific predetermined.
I think he's right. Other than to just be alive, feed yourself. I don't think there is a purpose, honestly. And this, I'm sure I'm going to turn off a lot of viewers with this. I think that's why people lean so heavy into religion. It's because religion gives you a purpose, something that almost a lot of people feel like they need in order to, survive and function in this world.
Goals in a way that forks serve specifically as tools for eating. He believed that existence precedes essence, meaning that we exist first and then the essence of our existence follows. We're like empty canvases and it's up to us how to fill them. So we're not designed for something. We come into existence and something comes afterward. If we follow Sartre's lead, we immediately encounter a conflict with any claim that tells us what we should be, should have, or are supposed to do. You're supposed to marry. Oh really? Says who? Some guy on YouTube? Instead, from Sartre's viewpoint, you marry because that's how you want to give substance to your life. It's optional, not required. From an existential view, it's perfectly fine not to follow conventions.
Here we go.
So let's completely ignore all social norms. Let's indeed see our lives as empty canvases that are ours to be filled. How would your life be? Would you still follow conventions, such as marriage? Would you still have children? To answer the latter question, I think many people remain faithful to conventions, such as marriage and children, perhaps not because they feel obligated, but because that's how they want to fill their canvases. They want a bond between two people until death parts them. They want that family life, going on holidays together, throwing children's birthday parties, and yelling at the sidelines of a soccer field. There's nothing wrong with staying true to conventions if that's what you really want to do. Not all conventions are necessarily good, but not all conventions are necessarily bad.
Okay, breaking it back around.
Best also depends on the individual situation. For some, walking the conventional route may be the most fulfilling way. But there are those, call them the unfitted, who don't want to go that route. I guess I'm one of them. And it's not just a deliberate choice. I really don't fit in, even if I wanted to. Another example of such an unfitted individual is Ralph Waldo Emerson, an American philosopher. In fact, his whole philosophy revolves around nonconformity and going against what society tells us we should be or do. He believed that society's rules and conventions often restrict individual freedom and don't necessarily benefit the individual. Therefore, when making decisions, humans should always use their own intuition instead of following the herd. And so, if people's intuition leads them down a road outside of the traditional family structure, so be it. It's probably the path most beneficial in terms of personal development. And
so far, this is pretty interesting. Definitely makes you think. But honestly, this is all stuff I thought of before. But let's roll.
Fulfillment for that individual. And could also be the best way of contributing to society. Take, for example, the lone scientist who never married and never had kids, but by dedicating his whole being to his work, he made significant contributions to humanity.
True.
When the emissaries of the kingdom offered the Taoist sage the throne, he declined. He instead sat by the riverside with his fishing rod, whereas many would have seized the opportunity of great power and all the benefits that follow. The sage abstained in exchange for peace. We could see the sage as a guiding light regarding other life choices, including those that society pressures on us. Yes, we could choose that high-paying career with many responsibilities, not leaving the office before 10 p.m. We'll be in a position of high esteem, status, and financial wealth. The great perk.
All right. So, it kind of bothers me a little bit, because I believe that most men, we're all called to some sort of duty where we have to do things, especially things we don't want to do. I call that responsibility, something I talk to my own son about. Uh, I think videos like this are for the men who, like he says, doesn't fit in. Things aren't conventional for them. They're not conventionally masculine presenting, as they say. And a lot of them probably think this way and gives them a way to kind of opt out of the rat race, if you will, if you're not really equipped to run in it, which I guess I understand. Or they do. I mean, the thing about it is it could be either or. It could be somebody who's everything men are programmed to think is masculine, uh, alpha chat or whatever the hell them people be saying, but he still just don't want to do it. That's what you hear about the whole lone wolf thing. But I don't know. I would not like for something like this to catch on too much, especially with my own son and other men that I know, because society needs us men, and if we're all opting out to not do anything, not reproducing, not engaging, I don't know what's going to happen to us, especially us in the black community. We really need our men to step up. And, I'm a big proponent of being the change you want to see. So I'm starting at home with my own family, with my own son or sons, excuse me. And even my daughter, speaking to them about certain things. I don't know. This talk kind of makes me nervous. We'll see. I mean, but maybe that's the point where I get you thinking in a different way. So let's see what else he's got to say.
Of being conventionally successful, but we could also not do that. We won't have all the perks, but we don't have all the stresses either. Similarly, we may decide not to have kids and enjoy the freedom of peace, of being child-free. We could indeed spend our time sitting at the riverside with a fishing rod. Ultimately, it's really up to us how we live our lives. Whether
True.
we marry, have kids, or follow society's should is our choice. Plenty of research suggests that the alternative, non-conventional path can be just as fulfilling, sometimes even more so, than
I agree.
following the norms. So, what do you think? What do you prefer? Following conventions or walking an authentic individual path? Thank you for watching.
Thank you. So as you can see, this is the guy's name, Einzelganger. I'm sure I butchered that. I'll put a link to the original video so you can really check it out, sit and listen to it without me yapping about it. Well, I thought it was interesting, and I saw the title. Obviously, you look at it and you think he's going to go a certain way. He definitely talks mostly about why you shouldn't get married, but he does go and say, hey, either way works. If that works for you, then it don't work, whatever, right? Me personally, obviously, like I said before, I think in the black community, especially us men, we need to, I don't know, get back in control and take charge and lead our boys. And getting married, and I'll say it again, getting married, black man getting married to a black woman and making black babies, therefore a black family, is the best way to do this. And I'm sure all you black dudes out there who are married to a not black person are going to feel some type of way about it. And, that's on you. We can have a discussion. You can go ahead and put it in the comments. I'm not saying you're wrong for that. I'm just saying I think that's the best thing for black families. And I'm going to throw my own hot take out there. And I think I've said this to people before. They always get upset. This is why I don't really listen to people like Dave Chappelle. This is my own personal take. I don't want to hear no pro-black shit from you if you're married and it's not a black woman. I don't want to hear it. Well, it has a lot less stock coming from you. Not that you can't say it. Obviously, you can do whatever you want. But it has a lot less stock for me coming from someone who's not married to a black woman. That's me. Anyway, that's all I got to say about that. Thank you for watching this video. And I'll stay frosty out there. Stay frosty. What?